Hello. The story I'm going to tell you today happened in Wisconsin. It is the 30th state of the United States. It's known for its cheese production. There's a city in Wisconsin called Milwaukee. This is the largest city in the state. It's the economic center of the state. Ever voted for? It's the best city in the Midwest, from the late 1980s to the early 1990s. There's been more than 10 disappearances in Milwaukee. All the missing people, they're all gay men. The police suspect that there's a local serial killer. Due to lack of clues, so the police couldn't find the killer. Until one day, two patrol officers accidentally discovered out a series of cases that shocked the United States. Next, we'll go back in time. Back to the 22nd of July 1991. The 22nd of July 1991, it was a Monday at 23:30. There are two police officers, routine patrol on the streets of Milwaukee. As we approach an apartment building on 25th Street in the north of the city, then suddenly ... they met an American man. They're out of the building. He's wearing nothing. He's wearing handcuffs. He quickly ran. I went straight to two police officers and panicked. Someone is going to kill me. At first, two police officers. That man was a pervert and controlled you. But he quickly explained that. My name is J.C. Edward. That night, I went to the bar for a drink with two friends. During the time above, I met another gay white male. He was very generous and cost hundreds of dollars to invite some people to his apartment. Let's drink and take some sexy pictures. But I'm the only one of the three people invited, agree to the above agreement. So I followed him into the apartment in the building above. Upon entering the house, I vaguely smelled a very unpleasant stench. Under the living room floor, there's some bottles of loharic acid, and on TV is showing a horror movie. The devil haunts me, feeling a little strange. I asked him about the acid bottle. Tell him that acid bottle to use to wipe dirt off the floor. After a conversation, he handcuffed me. I know some clients, or have strange habits, so I didn't react much and asked him, why would you do that? Tell him, it's my personal preference, so hopefully I can cooperate. Then we went to the bedroom together. I can't believe the smell in the room is getting worse. In the corner of the room, there's also a blue plastic container. I guess the smell came from there. I hate the smell on it. But I'm still cooperating, lying in bed taking pictures. Then he suddenly pulled out a knife. He threatened me and made me take off all my clothes. I suddenly felt that something was wrong. But with handcuffed hands, it's hard for me to escape. Take off your clothes. I asked him to remove his handcuffs. You see, I'm very cooperative. He relaxed his guard and put the knife down, back and forth in the room, then hum a song. After I'm done undressing, he slowly comes closer and puts his head in his chest. I said slowly, I will eat your heart. After listening, I feel so terrified. I can predict the enemy may be a little perverted, but I can't believe he's so perverted. At that moment I faked, pretend. He smiled and laughed and calmly said, we are friends. While thinking about how to get out of a difficult situation I saw that the door of the apartment was unlocked. This is the opportunity. I pretended to suggest, invite him to the living room for a few drinks, and then I went back to the bathroom, and wait until he's caught off guard. After getting out of the toilet, when he doesn't notice, I punched him hard in the face. Then rush out the door and run quickly out. So lucky, I happened to see two police officers here. After listening to JC, two police officers followed him into the apartment, and go to apartment 2A on the second floor. After knocking on the door, there was a white man who opened the door. After being asked, he admitted to the police that he's the one who just handcuffed JC. But the key is on the bedside table. Because Chelsea mentioned that a white man threatened him with a knife. So the two cops were very careful, calmly entered the apartment to check. Take a look at the map of the apartment. This is our entrance, and then the living room. Near the door there is a kitchen followed by a sofa and TVI. Here's a toilet and finally a bedroom. Two police officers entered the bedroom. They saw the bedside table open. When you look inside, then they saw some pictures taken. The body is fragmented. They believe the photos above are real. They immediately drew their guns, go out and subdue the man, and call the police to assist. After controlling him, two police officers continued to inspect the rooms. When opening the refrigerator in the living room they saw that inside there was a new head cut off, the life of an African American man, and some other parts. The man, when he saw it was discovered, he was quick to say that, "I did all that and I deserve to die." After a while the police force, they quickly arrived at the school, and immediately seal off the entire apartment, and the investigation officially began. In the apartment, there's a lot of cooked human meat in the kitchen. In addition to the first one, two are found, heart and part of arm in the fridge. The other parts are all packed in plastic bags. The police found a total of 11 skulls. There's 4 skulls in the living room, 7 skulls in the bedroom. Some of the skulls were bleached and some were painted. There's a blue plastic container in the bedroom, in containers filled with acidic liquids, and many parts have been cut off. They belong to 3 different men. The police found 2 complete human skeletons, a pair of severed hands, 2 male genitals, and many other parts of the apartment. They also found a total of 74 photos, record the process of dismembering the various victims. The scene of the crime was horrific. It's hard to describe in words. A French officer, the officer in charge of the case after the search, described that it's like a surgical museum. Then the crime scene, the identity of the man, it was also quickly revealed. His name is Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer. The 21st of May 1960, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. His father was Lionel Herbert Dahmer. He's a doctor of chemistry. His mother, Joy Annette, is a housewife. After Free was born, his mother had postpartum depression and lie in bed all day. His father hadn't finished school yet, so most of his time was at school. Both husband and wife, there was not much time to take care of Jeffrey. As a child, Jeffrey was very obedient and understanding. When growing up, the mother's condition is getting worse. You even intend to do something stupid. Every time the father comes home, the couple had a heated argument. Jeffrey's childhood, constantly seeing the arguments with your own eyes. Intensive parents, until 1964 at the age of 4. Jeffrey had to undergo CA inguinal hernia surgery. Since then he has lost himself, and don't want to communicate with other people. Once he saw his father take animal bones, do an experiment at home. That made him very interested. Since then, he started looking for animal bones in the forest. In addition, he often catches animals alive, and they're pressing their bodies with their hands to determine the location of the bone. When the bones make a noise, he'll get excited. In October 1966, when Jeffrey was 6 years old, the family moved to Town, Ohio to live. Here, the mother gave birth to Free Slippers, a younger brother, and he named it David. This is the name Jeffrey chose for his brother. Same year, the father also found a job at a research institute in Ohio. For the next 2 years, Jeffrey's family has moved several times, and they ended up settling in 8 County Salmon Town, Ohio. Their house is a 2-story house, located in a quiet forest. Jeffrey was 8 years old. He used to wander around, and eventually, I found an abandoned cabin in the woods. Jeffrey loved that bungalow, and turned the house into his secret base. Jeffrey regularly searches and collect 10 small insects or animals, and put them in jars, and put it in his base. 2 years later, in 1970, when Jeffrey was 10 years old, at a family gathering, when I saw a pile of chicken bones come out again on the table, Jeffrey curiously asked his father, "What will happen if those bones are put in bleach?" The father is happy when my son comes up with such a good question. And he showed you how to bleach and preserve animal bones in a safe way. Since then, Jeffrey started collecting 10 animals on the road or in the forest, returned to base for dissection, organ removal and bone preservation. In a few naughty times, Jeffrey was not satisfied with just looking for small animal carcasses. You once killed a dog yourself, then cut off the head, and pierced through with a stick, and plugged down the forest lights, the rest of the dog. Then he kept nailing it to a tree trunk. He finished slowly admiring his masterpiece. He's even excited to call some friends. Come and see and say, I accidentally discovered it. Also that year, the mother's illness became worse. She has thought many times, by taking drugs, but without success. And the father, they are often away from home due to busy work. It seems Jeffrey, I have never felt the love of my parents, for me throughout my childhood. But he seems to have gotten used to it for a long time. 1974 to 14-year-old Jeffrey enters high school. The age of rebellious students, they don't care about parents. That caused Jeffrey to develop a negative depression. I feel like no one understands me. So he started looking for alcohol to relieve his sadness. He often hides them in his clothes. When you go to school, Jeffrey was not good at communication and had few friends, but I really want to be noticed by others. From a young age, Jeffrey's played some games. It's like imitating a patient. Seizures fall to the ground, twitching and making a sheep-like noise and so on, to be able to attract others in the school. Jeffrey's actions. It caught the attention of my classmates. He quickly became a clown, in everyone's eyes, but Jeffrey didn't care. He just needs, I can attract the attention of others. Okay, in the next few days, Jeffrey constantly makes games, other naughty in school. In terms of learning, he just likes biology, and became obsessed with dissecting animals. He is no longer interested in other subjects. Jeffrey was in puberty at the time. But he's not interested in women. Instead, he likes men. During the study, Jeffrey also has a few boyfriends. They soon broke up too. And then he started dreaming about having a boyfriend. You can completely obey yourself and never leave. Once Jeffrey, I accidentally saw a strong man running on the road. He felt very excited at the time. I want to have sex with that man. A few days later he picked up a baseball bat and hid in a dark dust with the intention of attacking the runner that he'd noticed before. But that man didn't show up. This is the first time Jeffrey has tried to commit a crime. 3 years later in 1977, Jeffrey is about to graduate from high school, but his academic performance was poor. If it continues like this, it could affect his graduation. For worrying about you, so his parents hired Jeffrey's private tutor. Go at home. That's when his parents started arguing more often. And sometimes they fight. A year later in 1978 their marriage also ended. Jeffrey, he was also a boy who had just turned 18 and will graduate from high school. He invited his mother to his graduation. She was rejected on the grounds, Dad, it's enough. Mom and Dad didn't care much about him. But they're still fighting for custody of their youngest son. David's mother eventually won the case. She and her brother returned to Wisconsin. Jeffrey lives with his father. It's a series of unpleasant experiences that keep happening. It shocked Jeffrey. He felt that his parents did not love him. I just love my brother. Jeffrey became an alcoholic, and I'm drunk all day. 261,978. 3 weeks after Free graduated from high school, I was driving on the road that day. He saw a man naked, walking on the road. That's what makes him so excited. Slowly parked next to the man and asked, "Do you need a ride or not?" Happy man in the car. Through the conversation, he knew that man's name is Stephen Mark 10. He's on his way to a concert in Los Angeles. Jeffrey said that it's still early and the concert hasn't started yet, so I invited Stephen over for a few drinks. Then he'll drive you to the concert. Stephen gladly accepted. After they both went to Jeffrey's house, they started drinking and talking. During the time above, Stephen always talks about some beautiful women, but Jeffrey's not interested in women. He only cares about Stephen in front of him. But Jeffrey knew that if I offer to be your partner's boyfriend, it will definitely be rejected. He feels very hopeful about it. After talking for a few hours, Stephen, I saw the music session coming up and asked permission to leave, but Jeffrey didn't want him to leave. While the enemy is caught off guard, he took out a 5-pound dumbbell. He hit Steven in the head 2 times, caused the opponent to fall into a coma, then Jeffrey plays him around the neck with a dumbbell. Done. He took off Steven's clothes and played with the body. The next day Jeffrey was curious. He dissected his body in the basement of his house and buried it in the yard. After a few weeks, he saw kids playing in that area. Feeling unsafe, he dug up the body. He took meat from Riz's body, soluble in strong acid, and smashed bones into powder with a hammer and radio in the forest near his house. A month after the murder, in July 1978, the father returned home and found out he was drinking at home all day, so he went to some relationships. Let him go to Ohio State University. Ohio State University is known as Public Ivy. It's one of the top public universities in the clique-like area of the United States. When studying here, Jeffrey had no interest in studying and was still an alcoholic. His father came to the school to visit him and found it in his dorm room, filled with wine bottles. That makes the father very hopeful. Jeffrey dropped out of school after 3 months. Until January 1979, at the age of 19, Jeffrey joined the U.S. Army and became a doctor at my suggestion. During his time in the military, Jeffrey is given they are not eligible for military service due to alcoholism and other problems. It was released 5 hours early. Giuseppe felt that if he returned home, then he will surely be scolded by his father. So on the 24th of March 1981, Giuseppe decided to go to Miami, Florida. He's staying at a local motel and find a job at a fast food restaurant on the beach. Outside of working time, he spent most of his time drinking wine in the room. 6 months later, in September 1981, his father just found out that his son was 5, but not yet. Back home, he called and asked for the armor to return to Ohio. Immediately upon returning home, Jeffrey continues to live with his father and stepmother. 2 weeks after returning, he was detained by police for 10 days for being drunk and harassing. For a period of time, the father asked him to do all the housework. He had to go out to find more work. The goal is to keep him busy, forgetting the habit, beer wine, but his idea wasn't very good either. 3 months later, in December 1981, the father thought. Jeffrey listened to his grandmother Catherine's dream. From a young age, my 2 grandmothers had a very good relationship, so he decided to give them free slippers to her house in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The father also asked her to convince his nephew, find a stable job and stop drinking, because there's nothing to do. After moving to a new place, he listens very much to you. She helps with household chores and sometimes goes to church with her. In 1982, a year after moving in with her, Jeffrey found a job. It's a doctor who draws blood at a plasma center at the local, but a few months later, the 8th of July 1982, he was convicted for exposing the genitals in front of children and women. He was arrested by police and fined $50. He was fired by the SA boss. For the next 2 years, Jeffrey lives off of his grandmother's charity. By January 1985, Jeffrey was 25 years old. Find another job as a bartender. One day while studying in the public library, he was given a piece of paper by a man. He asked if he wanted to find a gay man. Jeffrey saw the silent paper and did not answer. However, that gave rise to a long-hidden appetite, hidden in his person. From then on, Jeffrey no longer wanted to hold himself back and started going to bars more often and bathroom for gay men. Once, he stole a ghost from the store and hid it in my closet. He was discovered and asked to be thrown away. Every night, he used to bring home a guy he met at the bar, spend the night in every relationship. He feels like his partner is constantly moving. It made him feel very uncomfortable. He wants complete control of the enemy. So I thought of the following way. Every time you bring your partner home, he'd put sleeping pills or tranquilizers in his vitro of the enemy. Wait until the enemy is asleep. He just started having sex. By on, the enemy will not be able to move freely, and he can do whatever he wants. Control them absolutely. But this is not a one-stop point. Strange lines of thought. His illness is getting worse. Once he saw it on news of the death of an 18-year-old man. When I found out where the young man was buried, he took a shovel to the cemetery late at night, and I'm going to dig up that man's body to enjoy it. Orgasm, but after digging some, he found the soil too hard, so he gave up that crazy idea. To the 9th of August 1985, Jeffrey, once again convicted for exposing closed areas in public. The court sentenced him to 1 year's probation. In November 1987, Jeffrey was 7 years old. I met a man in a bar. His name is Stephen Twomey. The second victim was from Michigan. Jeffrey invited him to the hotel, put the anesthetic in the drink and wait for him to pass out, then have sex. The next morning after waking up, then he saw Stephen lying motionless next to him, with many bruises on her chest, and blood comes out of my mouth. He's not breathing. Jeffrey didn't want to kill the enemy, but it can't be saved. So he decided to buy a big suitcase, to pack the body into a suitcase. He took her home to hide it. During the time above, the thoughts, the madness began to multiply in his person. A week later, he dismembered the body in his grandmother's basement by cutting the body into pieces and put in plastic bag and smashed the bones into small pieces with a hammer. It took him 2 hours to process the body. He handles all the parts, except for the first part, and throw it all in the trash. 2 weeks later, he had the head decomposed and splinted. An alkaline industrial detergent, mixed with bleach to cook the head. Then remove all of his flesh and keep the skull. But he noticed the skull become very brittle after being processed that way. It's easy to break if you're not careful. So he decided to crush the skull and throw it away. 2 months later, the 16th of January 1988, he found another target. He met a man named James Doctor, third victim, in a bar. He invited him to his house for $50. He still uses the old way. It's putting drugs and alcohol, putting that person unconscious, and strangled her to death. He then used the same method to dispose of Tang's body, and leave only the first part. The first part was fixed by him, and eventually bleached into skulls for display. After all, he still feels dissatisfied with what I've done. The next time he used a trick, the same way to commit more crimes. The victims are all gay. He met her in the bar. After many experiences, he successfully preserved the skulls of his victims. Most of the skulls are bleached. Some of them were painted in vibrant colors. Until April 1988, Jeffrey, 28, lured a man home. However, this time he made a small noise in the room as soon as he tried to kill the man. Then his grandmother's voice came from outside the door. "Is that you, Jeffrey?" After hearing my grandmother's call, he feels that if he goes out with the man above, maybe he'll find out. So he did give up killing, and secretly threw him in front of the hospital at midnight. 5 months later, because he often drinking and taking you home at night, so his room often creates an unpleasant smell. His grandmother couldn't stand it. He was angry and kicked him out of the house. Next, he rented an apartment in an apartment building on the 24th Street in North Milwaukee until September 1988 after moving into the apartment. Then he was accused of using the apricot and lured a 13-year-old boy to have sex. After being arrested by the police, a psychologist, we did a psychological evaluation on him. He was diagnosed with a personality disorder. He's supposed to be an impulsive person, not trusting others, and lack of confidence in life, until January 1989. 4 months later, Jeffrey's trial began. As a result, he was convicted of a second-degree violation. However, the sentence was not carried out until May 1989. During that time, he will be detained. 2 months after his detention, until March 1989. He was released for 10 days for Easter. And go home to your loved ones. I can't believe it. After 5 days of being released, in the 25th of March 1989, he killed another lay model, 24-year-old named Antonia. This is the 5th victim. The next morning, when his grandmother wasn't home, he dragged the body from the basement into the bathtub and cut the victim into pieces. This time, he gave his body parts into the bottle for preservation and hide it in a wooden box. 2 months later, in the 23rd of May 1989. According to the previous trial, he was sentenced to 5 years of probation. At first he had to spend a year in prison, but only after 2 months, he was pardoned for good behavior in prison and moved back to her grandmother's house to live. To the 14th of May 1990. Jeffrey is 30 years old. She was kicked out of the house again, along with his collection of human parts. Then, he's moved into an apartment on 25th North Street, Milwaukee. That's apartment number 23 at the beginning of the video. For 2 years here, he's been living freely, free from AI. So he's done 12 murders. Without being discovered, every time a crime is committed, he lured these men to the apartment for a reason. Paid to take pictures, after satisfying the bestiality and dealing with the body of the victim. Because he's always reusing the skulls, as a way to celebrate victory, and turn it into a collection of ornaments. Strange in the house. Once, he used a corkscrew to try to dry the skull, but as a result, the skull exploded in the furnace. Time later, Jeffrey is no longer satisfied with stacking his victims, but instead, he drilled a hole in their heads. Pour acid injection or pour boiling water into it. He thinks that, if you do that, will cause the enemy to fall into a state of undead. They're still weak but they can't resist. He believes that with the above, he can completely control the enemy. Until the 26th of May 1991, he invited a 14-year-old immigrant girl named Connor in the Samphone. This is the 13th victim to come to the house to take pictures. After taking pictures, he's been drugging your drink. Wait until the boy is unconscious. Then he drilled a hole in your head and inject acid into your hydro forehead. After that, he dragged you into the bedroom. In his bedroom then, still exam the body of a man who had died 3 days earlier, not yet dismembered. That day, I don't know why he suddenly lost interest. So I left the apartment and go to a bar for a drink. In the early morning hours, he returned to the apartment and was surprised to see that the boy had just been injected with acid. Nothing to wear. I'm talking to 3 girls downstairs in the apartment. At that moment he quickly walked over. He put his hand over the boy's shoulder and said, "He's my boyfriend. And I'm taking him now." The girls didn't believe him and called the police. 2 police officers were in the apartment. Jeffrey was very calm and said, "Konorak is my 19-year-old boyfriend. We just had some wine. Probably a little too drunk and out of control, so he ran out of the house, but BA girls wonder that. There was blood on him. And it doesn't look like you're drunk." However, the police did not believe the girls' story. Tell them to take care of their own business. Not long after, 3 paramedics arrived at the scene and examined the boy's wounds. One of them thinks, "You should be taken, go to the hospital for immediate treatment," but their proposal was not supported by the police, so they left. Then another police officer came to the scene, and also BA. They took the unconscious boy back to the apartment, to 1BA. After entering the apartment, they smelled a very strange smell. A police officer checked through the speakers inside the apartment, but found nothing. To prove his relationship with the boy, the police officer showed the police an intimate photo. He took a picture with you in the afternoon, so the police believed his story and leave the apartment. After the police left, he was angry that the boy had escaped, so he kept injecting more acid into your head, and it killed you. The next day, he asked the boss to take a day off, to spend time at the morgue, but that's not a scary thing. After killing the enemy, he'll keep their hearts and their livers, put it in the fridge to enjoy. For 2 years living here, he was often complained about by his neighbors, because of the unpleasant stench emanating from the apartment. Sometimes the neighbors even hear the power saws, but every time they knock on the door, he gave me a number of reasons to heal himself. Until the last time it was discovered, he killed a total of 17 people. The youngest is 14 years old. The oldest is 36 years old. They're all African Americans, Asian and Hispanic immigrants. At that time, the problem of racism in America is very serious. Milwaukee is an industrial city, with a large number of foreign immigrants. Maybe that's why, that the targets Jeffrey's after. It wasn't focused at the time. That has caused a lot of outrage of many locals. 3 police officers helped Jeffrey take the immigrant boy back to his apartment. Maybe he's also a racist, so they hesitated to believe him after seeing Jeffrey. White people, Jeffrey has been charged with 17 counts of first-degree murder, but he only confessed to 16 of them. After the incident, some racial strife broke out, and people hate the villain Jeffrey so much. The 13th of January 1992, the case officially goes to trial. During the trial, to prevent violence, disorder, 10 security guards used explosion-proof shields to prevent the crowd from entering. The surprise is, the police officer reversed his confession in court, and he refused to plead guilty. He said, "I pleaded guilty during a police interrogation. It's because I had a mental disorder, and I can't control myself," the defense lawyer said. Jeffrey has a mental disorder. They can't control behavior when committing crimes on. In the final argument, the prosecutor said Jeffrey was a reasonable man, completely in control your actions when committing a crime. However, he murdered his victims and kept their bodies just to get pleasure, to control them. The crimes he committed, it's caused confusion and serious harm to people in Milwaukee. The case will go through a trial lasting up to 4 months. To the 5th of January 1992, the jury made a unanimous decision. After the verdict, and the court convicted Jeffrey Dahmer. 16 life sentences plus 941 years in prison. T-Rime Twami, second victim, was one of 17 fish that forced first-degree murder, was rejected for armor. Africa confirmed he doesn't remember killing the second victim. He said, "I was just planning on drugging him and spending the night with him. I had no intention of hurting him. When I woke up in the morning, he had a broken rib here. I was heavily bruised. Apparently I had beaten him to death with my fists. And you have no memory of it. I have no memory of it." But that's what started the whole spree all over again. After sentencing, he's in a Colombian correctional facility. It's one of Wisconsin's highest security prisons. More than 800 prisoners were detained. Jeffrey was in solitary confinement at the start of his sentence, to better adapt to life in prison. The prison administration allowed him to stay with the other prisoners and participate in prison work. In prison, he wants to be in prison. Lend him a Bible book. After being approved, he reads the Bible every day. Confess yourself to all your sins. One day in an interview with a reporter, he replied that, "I don't know how to put it. Possess them permanently, and that's why you killed them. Right. Not because I was angry with them. Not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me. And as my obsession grew, I was saving body parts such as skulls." When asked at Sal, the first crime happened in 1978. The second crime happened 9 years later. He explained that, in Jeffrey's memory, he said, he's always motivated by your inner self, and he doesn't know how to get out of it. The reporter asked, "Why do you want to preserve the skulls of the victims?" He replied that, "I'm building an altar and drawing a sketch. There's a table up there. Each end of the table has a candle and 10 heads in the middle. The plan above, it was planned not long ago. Within the next 6 months, if not arrested by the police, he will build the altar." When asked which gods are on the altar, he replied that, "It's where I meditate and get my strength." To the 28th of November 1994. Jeffrey, "I went to the bathroom with 2 other prisoners to scrub. 3 people were there for 20 minutes and still didn't come out. The guards saw no movement, so I went to check. Then they discovered Jeffrey and another prisoner are lying on the spot. 2 of them had head injuries and lie motionless on the toilet floor. They were quickly taken to the emergency hospital. Jeffrey was later pronounced dead. After being taken to the hospital for an hour, because the resuscitation didn't work, the other died 2 days later. The man who struck 2 of them was Christopher Scarver. He has schizophrenia. He told me that God had asked me to do it. And I'm doing God's justice. That day he hid an iron bar in his clothes. We went to the bathroom and attacked them. While they're caught off guard, Jeffrey didn't even resist or make any noise when attacked. Jeffrey is a very bad guy. He committed a series of heinous crimes. It shook the whole world. After being exposed, in an interview he said, "I don't know whether God and the devil are or not, but I think they're both affecting me." Today's video ends here. I'll see you in the videos next. Hello.